design a text-only poster that visually communicates the genre and emotion of a movie or series title using typography as your main visual tool. So you can see we've got some examples here. Predominantly text, obviously some have got images, but the main visual tool is going to have to be typography. So I've decided I'm going to be doing a poster for Andor series I watched recently. Star Wars. It's more of, in my opinion, adult themed rather than the kind of childish nature that some Star Wars can be. So I started my research by looking, quick Google search, Andor, what's come up. So I'm looking at the colour palette, I'm looking at the use of text already, the use of typography, the font, the kind of mood. Obviously, having watched it, I know the mood myself, but just looking at a few reference images, I'm going to be using Illustrator, so I need to create a new file. It's going to be A4. If it's not in your recents, then you go to print, because A4 is a print size. A4 and create. Okay, so first thing we're going to need to do then is have a bit of text. Obviously it's poster, it's going to need the title. So that's the first thing that I'm going to be working on. So text box, draw whatever size you want, and then you're going to be writing in Andor. For me, it's going to be Andor. Over here in the properties panel, we can change the size of it individually like this, or we can add in. For text, I'm going to center align it to the text box, but then I also have the alignment tools here. So a little bit further down, so I'm going to align it in the center of the page. He says, align it. There we go. In the center. Slap bang in the center. Now I'm going to go back to the text. Obviously, I need to be thinking about fonts. This is where you're going to spend your most amount of time. As you can see, I've already done a little bit of the legwork, and I've gone through and selected a couple that I already like. But that took me a long time to get to that. I was scrolling and scrolling through here. I'm thinking about, is it going to be a sans serif? Is it going to be a serif font? The mood of it, it conveys a lot. Typography is incredibly important. So at this stage I've looked back. Obviously looking at this font that has been used, very simple with the use of texture. That's the main thing that I'm seeing when I'm looking at this. Texture, and you've got the negative space of the O there as well, which is a nice little feature. But it's very, how I would describe that is almost like a stamp or a stencil, quite utility, which is linking with the character, linking with the story. It's like a rebellion, so it's kind of basic is the horrible word to use there, but it's very utility. I'm going to stick with utility. So I'm going to be looking for one like that, and I've come up with these two here. So we've got abolition and we've got agency. Quite like abolition. I'm going to be playing around with all of these little added features here. So I can change the kerning of the letters, so how far apart they are. See, that then affects the box. And again, I'm going to center align it. My first thought as well is obviously black text on white. Not really liking the look of that, so I'm going to draw a box for the background fill, and I'm going to arrange that and send it to the back. And then hopefully I'll find my text. All of it. And then I'm going to change that. So now I've got white white on black to change the mood already. In fact, I'm not actually going to go for white. That's obviously a preset colour. That you could. The next task is going to be colour, and that will take ages doing colour as well. But already that's changed the mood of that for this poster. Obviously, I can't just leave it like that. I need to have a kind of idea, a kind of aesthetic that I'm going to be going for. So I might think about posters that I've seen. Obviously, I've just done all the research for this project, so I've been putting together all of these kinds of posters, so it's in my brain quite a lot. But think about the visuals that you like seeing. Think about possibly adverts you've seen or anything like that. The one that catches my attention is the Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy poster. So I might go for a similar aesthetic to this, where I've got multiple words. I like the layering up. I think it took me a while to read it, but the greyed letters behind that is actually the characters' names. So I quite like that kind of overlapping aesthetic that they've got going on there. So I'm just going to have a think about how I'm going to approach this and what other words I might use. So I've just thought that I might use words that kind of possibly describe the character or the plot. And for some reason I've got in my mind that I'm going to be sticking with words that just use A. So I think it's because I'm thinking like Alliance, Andor obviously is his name, and it's kind of center aligned text. So I'm just going to copy and paste these just so I can start building this together like this. Again, I'm going to check that they're all aligned in the middle like that. And I'm going to see what that looks like. Alliance. As you can see, I've pretty much just ripped off that Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy poster. So at this stage, I am actually going to use another tool, and that is my good friend ChatGPT. So I'm just going to put a prompt in here for it'd be adjectives. Are they adjectives or? Bear with me one moment. Okay, so this isn't perfect, but there we go. Two lists of adjectives link with the character of Andor in the TV series Andor, and the plot linking with Alliance. Does that make sense? I'm not sure. All words must start with A. So this is just going to be a tool that I can just get. It can be selective. Yes, mixed words there. Astute. Don't really like that word. Adaptable. Audacious. Allegorical. Okay. Awakening. Absolutely. Awakening. Let's spell that right. Awake. Yeah. Awake. Yeah, good. So, center line. Alliance Awakening. So I'm getting some words put in here now. Assembling. Verbs, nouns, verbs. Yes, all. assemble, ambush. No. Okay, so I'm going to have to think what else I can do now that I've got this in place. Okay, so I'm just thinking about the Tinker Tailor poster and how they have it kind of behind, shining through, but I've put it as yellow so it can be really clear, but it just looks muddled and you really can't tell what's actually going on there, which I think is not that successful. Maybe if this is smaller, and we've got the kerning up even more. If it moves, you can kind of see it, but let's do that. Ugh. Okay, gonna keep thinking about this. Okay, so I've got some more words, and I spelled this one wrong about 3 times, ascendancy, so there we go. Got to keep checking that sort of stuff. Illustrator doesn't always give you the squiggly lines, so watch out for that. I'm just playing around with getting them all to be in width order. But I've ended up really liking this kind of the handle with the large kerning. So what I've done, I've taken those words, I've turned it into a background, and I think this idea came from just wanting to fill that space. Now I've tried muddling some of the words up to create a different kind of pattern for the background. And now I've changed the size of the text so that it's even more of a bolder background. There's a few little errors in spacing in here. I'm just going through and correcting that. So now that I've got this texture, I am thinking of doing a kind of clipping mask. So this kind of where you have text and image, or image and, well, it's normally text actually, but thinking about using that pattern now that I've got in the background to become something. I'm kind of inspired by this V on the Kurt Vonnegut is reminding me of the A of Andor. So I'm actually going to have a little play around with seeing what I can do with either the letter A or a shape and see what I can do with that. Okay, so I've got this big A here. I've tried clipping it, doesn't look very good. So what I'm actually going to try and change the shape of this A. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to, I'm selected this A, I'm going to go create outlines, quick action. That now puts outlines onto this A that I will then be able to start editing. This is kind of curved this a bit, which I don't actually want. So I'm just going to play around with this now. Move that around. I don't know why this is. Okay, so I did something weird there. So I just Control Z, edit, undo, and then I did it again. And now this is what I was looking for. So you can round those, but I do not want those round. I want those utility and square. So now I can add in any points if I like using the pen tool, and then I can move those if I wish and really distort this A to whatever shape that I want. So I'm going to play around with that. Okay, so I've got I did copy, I thought I'd stay on brand, and I copied that, the A, took out the cross member there, so it's just this kind of, I can't help but seeing a couple of pairs of legs now though, so not sure about it, but I'm liking the way this is going so far. I've also put on that handle at the bottom. I did also play around with another one, which I'll show you now. As you can see, the Rebel Alliance symbol down here. So that is key theme of the Star Wars brand. That is part of this Rebel Alliance. That is a simple symbol that I wanted to include. As you can see, I've made a clipping mask of it there. So it's clipped the shape. That's the original text, and it's clipped that shape onto there as well. So that was just something else I was playing around with. So doing the clipping mask, what I can do is I'll select background and the image. Right click, is it? Yep, make clipping mask. And then it just clips it to it like that. So the text is still there, but it's clipped to that shape. Obviously it leaves that white background, and how do I feel about that? I'm not quite sure about it, to be honest. It's very stark. Don't think it's that on brand. White in the Star Wars world is reminiscent of Stormtroopers, so I'll just keep playing around with this. Okay, so I've just done something that I actually quite like, really. Change the size of the text. What I am going to do, I made the A symbol smaller, text bigger, center align. I've moved that on. Move this out of the way so I can see it a bit more. I think it's because I'm relying on that A symbol, but yeah, kind of liking this at the moment now. I'm going to tweak it a little bit more. So all I've done is I've just lined up the top of the A there, line alliance and agitation, and then lined it up down here as well. Still think the Andor possibly could change scale a bit, but the main thing I want to play around with, something I haven't really talked about or done, is colour. So got it all selected, and I go over here. So I'm in the properties panel, scroll down to quick actions, and I've got recolor. So this is just, I like to use this as visualization. Color libraries. Why is that doing that? Wow. I'm going to go for ancient. So you see how that creates a certain color palette, and it just harmonizes it all. Wow. So that was ancient. We've got baroque. Quite nice. 3 colors. Obviously, I'm only using 3 colors there. But then, what if I was to then go in put a bright red over the top of it? Not sure. But I can just keep doing this. So I've had a play around with the colours, and I've got this kind of desaturated look. It's still not 100% on. I think I still will play around with it a bit more. As you can see, I've changed the handle to red. I don't know if it's too harmonious now. I think I do want a bit of like contrast there. I am actually going to also not rip off, but take heavy influence from the original Andor text. Obviously, you see I've done the A, changed the A into that kind of shape, and then that stamp quality, that rough kind of stamp quality. So I've quick Google rubber stamp texture. I'm going to have a go at making that clipping mask onto the A. So I've got the texture, put it actually into Photoshop because I need to edit the colour. I tried doing a clipping mask and it just made it black and white image, which is not what I want. So I've got this in here. I don't know why my Photoshop has lost all of its tools, but there we go. We've got image. We're going to do the adjustments, and black and white. Because it's a black and white image, it hasn't got any colour, so when you play around with it, it doesn't actually do anything. So I'll put tint on it, and I want it to be that reddy kind of colour. Whoa, not that reddy. Oh, maybe. Now, not. Maybe not. So, not going to get quite as. So we've got the red. Now I'll try the adjustments. I'll try that again. Okay, ignore that. I'm going to keep playing around with this, and then I'll put it back into Illustrator. So I've got a couple of these in here now, so I've played around with them. I've got, again, thinking of the actual and/or symbol, gone for those colours, and then I've got this kind of reddy kind of look. So let's select them both. Right click, click and mask. Nice. Do the same thing here. Oh. Oh, it's a bit like trees. I don't really like that. Doesn't really look like. Oh. Not sure about this, but there we go. Let's see what it looks like over here. It looks like you're looking through trees. White, kind of nice. I think I've got the wrong texture there. Wrong texture, but I still think it looks cool. Is it giving and/or? Maybe not. What about if that's white? Okay. I think I'm going to leave it there. I am quite happy with those. Double A. Ooh, no. It's doing something. It's doing something. Yeah, cool. Okay, pretty much happy with this, so I'm going to export this now. So obviously, as you've been doing this, you've been saving it, but now we want it as an actual file. So we're going to go export, export as. So give it a name, and then make sure you're on either JPEG or PNG. I'm going to go PNG up. The file sizes, file quality is a bit better, and we want to definitely click this, use artboards. If anything like me, I've got loads of other items not being used, but just in the periphery. So use artboards, absolutely all, and then export. See a white line on top of that. For now, it's fine. So yeah, fine. And that is your work saved. You'll now be able to import that into your onto your website, and yeah, that's just one. That's taken me a few hours to get that put together, but that was my creative process for making the typography outcome.